What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hoop, Mango, and myself, the usual Monday crew, breaking it all down. We got 8 games today. Injury news, like always. Pretty interesting slate. I mean, if you are a person that likes to get to bed early, maybe has some plans tonight, it's a good slate for you because the last game locks at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour after the first lock game. So it's not too often you see a slate this big. Only an hour, 8 p.m. Eastern is the last game. So it should be interesting. Still have injury news. Joined by my two boys. They'll hit the like, hit the subscribe for us. We appreciate it. I'll go to Man going first. Hoop's struggling over there. Got some technological, they can't even pronounce the word, difficulties going on over there. He's struggling. Man going, how was your Monday? How was your football Sunday yesterday? Anything you want to talk about from either of the games? Any Super Bowl predictions? Let the people know what's going on in your world.
No, nothing crazy. I think I like the Rams to win. I'll say that. I don't know. I don't believe in like bad offensive lines winning a championship, and I don't think that Bengals offensive line is good enough. So we'll have to see. My pick is on the Rams right now. I got the 3.5 in early. It's at 4 now, so I'm happy with the spot I'm sitting at. But obviously, we will see how the week plays out. I know Higbee is a guy that he's questionable, and that's unfortunate for him, right? You play to get to the Super Bowl, and then you get hurt. So that's annoying for him, but it should be fun. It'll be, I think everyone's excited for the Super Bowl, though. It's different. And I think towards the end of the week, you'll see everyone wanting the Bengals win. And I don't know, like my heart kind of wants the Bengals, but the wallet wants the Rams, I think. So I'm in an interesting spot. I'm kind of in the spot where Hoop's been all year. It's like, okay, like the Hoop didn't believe in the Rams as much, but he's like, I got the money on it though, right? And he's been backing them. So we're here. We're arm in arm, both of the Rams tickets. So that'll be good to see how it plays out. And I'm sure he's on the same side. I feel like he would like to see Burrow win because it's a great story, but he wants it for his wallet. He wants the Rams, I bet.
Yeah, Hoop, I was going to ask you, hopefully your headphones and stuff are good now, but is all your tickets pretty much Super Bowl, or did you have like NFC conference? Did you have them winning division? Did you have a broken over and wins? Did you have it broken up in different things, or you're pretty much just all in for the Rams Super Bowl?
No, I had them all throughout. Like we were talking as the season went on, and the Cardinals, wasn't ever a believer in the Cardinals. So I had them winning the division, winning the conference and the Super Bowl. So obviously that ticket's still alive, but bigger investment obviously on the Chiefs, which went south real quick. Don't know what, that second half, it was just crazy. They did literally nothing in the second half. We were talking about it pre-show, and then you get to overtime and you throw 2 shitty passes to like your 5th wide receiver and DeMarcus Robinson. Just really weird outcome there for the Chiefs. But yeah, I'm with Mangone. I hold the Rams ticket. I truly believe that they'll win the Super Bowl. That offensive line, that was the craziest part. The Chiefs did not make them pay the price for that offensive line either. Like they're getting there and then just like could not bring them down. Just did not make much sense. Just a really weird outcome. And I really believe if that game's ran back, 10 times, I think the Chiefs win that 7 or 8 times. It was to me a bizarre second half, but the story is great with the Bengals. Huge congratulations to them to getting there against all odds. We were on them against the Titans. At least I was. I knew it was a good spot for them. But this spot, I was backing the Chiefs. I think it comes to an end, though, here at the Super Bowl. I just think that this Rams team, it just seems like they're just a better team, and they'll make them pay the price for that bad offensive line. So give me the Rams in the Super Bowl. Huge contest, especially on DraftKings. Just massive milli maker contest and a bunch of other stuff on there. So it should be fun game with for DFS as well.
Yeah, I saw FanDuel was like $5. Tons of people, I think maybe even full milli up top, and then DraftKings $15, almost like 500,000 participants or something. So huge contest. All the content will be up. Obviously, we get a break, the Pro Bowl, and then after that, it will be that. I want Bengals for sure. I was actually on the Bengals over the Chiefs. The one thing I did get right this week and got slaughtered pretty much everywhere else, but I had the Bengals tickets money line. Plus 800 for win the AFC. I'm riding the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm going to bet it because, man, I think they're going to get dominated in the trenches. Aaron Donald against this offensive line, and even vice versa. Like Cam Akers probably going to have success running it, but I don't know. I can't feel confident betting against your Joe Burrow, so we'll see what I do, but should be fun. You don't see these 2 teams in the Super Bowl, so Bengals, Rams should be a lot of fun, but we got 8 games here. No members never win. That Simon gave me. Hit the like, hit the subscribe for us. If you're not a member, I don't know what you're doing. Bunch of stuff going on. Get in the Discord if you are a member, of course. Keg's live show, $40 a month. He goes live multiple hours every single week. Absolutely prints MMA, NFL, NASCAR's coming back. Absolutely prints a coop on that. So make sure you check out Keg's live show as well. But we're going to get into basketball. Like I said, 8 games, really weird with the timing. We're not going to have to wait for injury news long, but there is injury news in the first couple games. So Memphis Grizzlies, Philadelphia 76ers, 217.5 total. Memphis is favored by 4. Go to the injury report. Philly side is really big. Joel Embiid is resting today. Obviously, Andre Drummond, we'll get to him, is going to be very popular because of that. Prices did not do a good job with this price, or the sites didn't do a good job with this price. Shake Milton out. Korkmaz questionable. On the Memphis side, Dylan Brooks out. Tyus Jones questionable. Hoop, I'll go to you. Talk about Andre Drummond. Easily will be the highest owned player on the slate. Rightfully so. The price is dumb. Talk about Tobias Harris. Other pieces on the Sixers side, because you can't ignore this team. Then talk about the Memphis side as well.
Yeah, I mean, it turns into a slate where really the only, for the most part, you really want to hone in on these teams with injury news, and there's a ton of it, and there could be more. Like you said, we're waiting on some massive news as well. Like even in that next game, like Darius Garland's questionable. If he were to miss, like there's guys that are going to get massive boosts. But here with the 76ers, the Andre Drummond thing is so unfortunate. Like just set his, I don't know how they do the pricing or the algorithm, but just set Andre Drummond's floor price to 5K. Just put it to 5K. If you can catch the news, then you obviously bump it up, but he should never be less than 5K. 3.7 on DraftKings and then 4.4 on FanDuel. It's a free square. You just play them. Some people make the argument, oh, well, he's going to be 80% owned, but I'll fit. Like, no, man, just take the free square and move on. Even in tournaments, I think it's a lock button play. I mean, it's just too easy, just such a bad price. His odds of paying off this price tag and being on optimal lineups tonight is just so high. Just play him and move on. Now, in terms of the other pieces, I like Tobias Harris too. I mean, Tobias Harris is the guy that's obviously, next up here in terms of being the main offensive contributor with Embiid out. Price is fair, definitely like him. I think Tyrese Maxey, solid play. I mean, a ton of minutes. I mean, he's playing so many minutes. Now Embiid is out. Like really strong play. Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry can make the argument for. Thibault you can make the argument for. There's a lot of guys. And it's one of those situations where, on your teams, almost all your team, I'd say actually on all your teams, you're going to want some exposure to the 76ers. It starts with Andre Drummond, and then those other guys are in play. Now you go to the Memphis side, and it gets tough. Like, yeah, John Morant is a great play, and we don't have the big spends on the slate. So maybe you build your team out and you have enough for John Morant. That's fine. It's just going to be hard to call anyone else really a core play outside of these guys on teams that have significant injuries. So Morant is fine. Not like a building block type guy, but if you have a team that does have a lot of 76ers and you want to play Morant, I think that does make sense. The mid-tier guys like Desmond Bane and stuff, I just don't think you can do it on the slate because of the injury news that we talked about. So 76ers guys are all really good plays. It starts with Drummond, probably goes to Tobias Harris, then Tyrese Maxey, probably my 3 favorite. But on your teams, you're going to want some 76ers. It's very clear.
Yeah, there's certain teams on this slate. We'll get to the Miami Heat who have a lot of injury news. Portland has some. There's certain teams they're going to want to target. 76ers are obviously one of them with Embiid resting. Memphis is more relatively healthy on this slate, so you can't go overboard on teams that are healthy on this 8-game slate. Mangone, go to you. Talk about your 76ers, rank your favorites, and are you touching anyone on Memphis?
Yeah, the Drummond conversation is interesting because like I'm always down to like fade like a chalkier like guy at the top if he's like 80. Like if you told me, I don't know if he's 99% owned, like would I fade him? It's a tough spot to for sure. Like
but it's not going to be 99, as you know.
It won't be 99, but like I mean, it'll be. I mean, what do you think? I think it's going to be 90%, right?
In the high single entry, probably in that 15 or whatever, even the 555 or stuff. I think probably a little below 90. 15 definitely below 90. It's never as high as we think.
Yeah, I care about like I guess whenever I look, I care about some of the higher.
The higher dollar stuff.
I compare the stuff and everything, and it's like I think the only way, so I've tried to think through like what are the routes you could fade Drummond. There's like not many. The only one I've came up with that's like at all any logical is like you would need Zubac to sit where like Hartenstein would be like a good value at 3-3, and he's still not as good of a value as Drummond. And then you would need another center, I think, to emerge as an option. Like it just seems like it's too much to have happen. And I'm just talking through the process because I think these are interesting spots to do it. But the problem is I think this is one of those anomalies where it's Andre Drummond, right? Like we know what he does. He's 3.7K. We've seen this over the years. So hard for me to fade. But I am curious to see how everything shakes out with news and stuff. Cause I think there is some news that can open up some other center options where that double center build in general could just be a route that's very popular. But I think that, and maybe that's a way where if you play Drummond and you don't play like that other double center, if the news falls your way, maybe that's the way that you're getting it different. That could certainly be it. But I think Drummond is a really great play. Definitely someone that I'm likely going to have on all my teams. I do think that Tyrese Maxey is another guy that I'm going to look to go to. I know there was one game this year where Drummond did not get the run. I think it was against Utah against that. And then Bassey got the run instead. If you were looking to really leverage and go crazy, like that would maybe be what I would do, like the guy that could steal his minutes, but I don't think that is the route I would go. I just didn't want to mention him because he is projecting kind of decent. I wouldn't want to play both those guys though. I do think that Tobias Harris, the price tag is fine, but do I want to spend my money on that? Like, I just don't know. I think I'd rather go some of these cheaper options. Like I'd rather go a Maxey and a Curry instead of going like a Tobias Harris. You can make the argument that because he's power forward eligible, maybe it makes him more in play, but I don't love playing like Tobias Harris at 7-8 when there's other studs that I can spend my money on. That's one thing that I'll definitely think through, especially with Andre Drummond being on the court. Cause we know when Andre Drummond is there, he's just like a giant fantasy black hole. Everything just goes to him. It's all there. So I think it isn't going to be as great for Tobias as people might think when I can just spend my money on some other studs. We are waiting on the Korkmaz news. I think he's still questionable. So that's something worth looking at because if he doesn't play, well, that just really secures the minutes for Curry and Maxey even more. And then maybe it opens up some other value plays on the Sixers side. So I really think Drummond's like the number one. And then I'm leaning Curry on DraftKings is maybe number 2 and then Maxey number 3. And then on FanDuel, it might be Maxey as the number 2, I think because of salary. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Those are like the 3 guys to key in on. And then number 4 is Tobias Harris because of the salary and like the other things I can just do with my team. I think that I don't want to necessarily make Tobias Harris a priority, but if I fall on him when I'm building, I'm okay with it. And it's a perfectly fine play.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess that Bassey game was against the same Memphis team people are saying in chat. So
was it against Memphis? I thought it was Utah, but I thought it was interesting because that happened once this year. I do remember Andre Drummond not getting the run, even in the second half, and Bassey was getting the run, which was like just shocking. So, you never know when that can happen. But I'm just kind of calling it out because it was one of those games that it happened. And if he's like, again, if you told me he was 99%, I'd be out on it. But yeah, he's the lower the stakes get, like you said before, title, like the $15, the $5, like that's where there's more opportunity to gain by playing him, where you can make an argument that, I don't know, like Hoop, like you play the Thunderdome sometimes. He's going to be maybe 100% owned in that. Like you could be the one guy that does it, but you could be the one guy that gets absolutely dusted too. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just,
there's no way Hoop would fade a play like that.
I know you're not. I'm just kind of talking. I know Hoop's not. I'm just talking.
And you know who's like less likely to fade him than me is freaking Mangone, the guy making the argument to fade him. Mangone is less likely to fade Drummond than even fucking Hoop is. I can promise you that.
No, that's not true. I have a better chance than you do, but I probably won't end up doing it because he's not just an anomaly situation. Like the guy's like, I'm okay with like the price isn't there too, right? Hoop, like he's 3.7. When the price gets to like 5-6, you can start having more of a conversation about it, but it's still harder. And then it gets like the 6-7 and 7K. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation to have, especially when it's the center position, because you can only roster it in 2 spots. And when you can only roster in 2 spots, you can find 2 other guys that can get the job done. But I just don't think we have those centers on this slate where he just seems so easy to plug in.
Yeah, I mean, like he's 3.7K. I mean, his realistic projection, like conservative projection, is probably like 35 fantasy points. It's like, it's insane. The ceiling's like 50 for 3.7K. And like, you're not going to get that argument from me. It is like one of the best value situations like ever when you consider price.
So here's a good conversation and counter to it, right? Like Russell Westbrook the other day was like, these stone lock, like you got to play him. Like no one's playing. Like, I mean, he was grading out so well. I think it's because he's expensive. What?
Yeah, like
Exactly,
8K or whatever he was.
And like if you look at his box scores, like we've talked about it for weeks about like anytime Russell Westbrook's this popular, you can fade him. And we've seen Drummond in spots like this with the price tag. Price tag's obviously a big thing, but I know what you're saying, man. Going when everyone says you can't fade something, I mean, I'm laughing because like when Hoop said Mangone's not gonna. I mean, of course, I'm never gonna fade that play either, so I can't really talk. Like
I'm just frustrated because I played Westbrook on like all three of my teams the other day, and all I kept saying was I want to play Ja, I want to play.
Was that when he got there?
I want to play Booker, and I couldn't play them all because like you just can't. And I could have maybe if I got off of him on like one or two of the teams. And yeah, he got there and did well, but those other guards crush. And the point I'm getting is I don't think center's like that great today. I think that's like one of the concerns, but it can certainly open up as the news develops. And I think that's why you're going to see, and then when people plug in like a Drummond at the center spot, then you're going to see guys go like, if they plug in like a Curry and then they plug in like a Maxey. Well, now you have the money for Tobias Harris at power forward. So you just start falling on like similar builds and stuff. And I think it's just an interesting conversation when you have these situations, because Westbrook the other day was one I was like, man, I really don't want to do it because I like all these other guards. And then I just, fell in line and played them and it worked out okay, but it was definitely frustrating because I didn't get exposure to some of the other guys I wanted.
Yeah. The basketball is the one sport where like you can project a lot more clear and precise. Because minutes, usage, this guy's out, this guy steps in, blah, blah, blah. Whereas baseball, Mike Trout can go 0 for 4 any day. Like you can fade anything that's really popular in that, or football, a lot of touchdown variants and stuff. So we're all three of us, I can almost promise you 99.9% are playing Drummond. He's a great play. Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Tobias, pretty good plays in that game. Memphis side, you can always play Ja, but you don't need it as much. Before we get in the next game, 435 watching, 124 likes. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us, please. Next game, 7 p.m.
Eastern. Real quick, one thing to mention, if Tyus Jones plays, that is going to hurt Ja more than people realize. So just wanted to call that out. I know he was questionable earlier. I don't know if that got updated, but that I definitely want to call that out because I think that Ja has been really benefited by a lot of those ball handlers being out. And the addition of Tyus will hurt some of his usage for sure.
I still think he's questionable. Good point, though. Let's get into the next game, though. Again, second game that locks at 7 p.m. Eastern. New Orleans Pelicans, Cleveland Cavaliers, 209 total. Cleveland is favored by 6.5. Go to the injury report on the Cleveland side. Markkanen out. Darius Garland questionable. Very big news. Darius Garland, he's been the best scorer for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're without a lot of ball handlers. So Darius Garland, big news on this slate. On the other side, the Pelicans, Joval, Ingram, Josh Hart, all questionable. Obviously, we're going to get this news all before lock, but that's 4 questionable tags that are very important on a slate like this. So, Mangone, I'll go to you. Obviously, a lot of this, what we're going to do depends on what news we get in this, but talk through different scenarios.
Yeah, well, I mean, so there's one of those centers that could open up. You could have a Willie Hernangomez or Guillermo, whatever you want to call him. Hernangomez is 5'6", though, right? So compared to some of these other centers like a Hartenstein and
like Drummond, like Hernangomez to Drummond, like, man, like Hernangomez has been so good, but like that's a lot of money.
But it's definitely worth just mentioning because it's like
for sure
he's going to be a good play for sure. And someone that I'm definitely going to look at as an option. Like, and these Pelicans, it depends who's in and out. So it's like hard to call that out, but obviously if Valanciunas misses, that's great. You need some other guys to miss, that way it helps his usage out as well. If you get the situation like you had the other day, like Josh Hart, when he was just the solo guy by himself, that's pretty good for him. The one where he's really a good rebound guy, and like Cleveland isn't the team to like get all these rebounds over, but I think that Josh Hart is in play at 6'9". It's nice that he's at that small forward eligibility, so wouldn't hate him. Herb Jones at power forward at 5'1". He feels like a really nice cash play. Like he's going to get you between that like 20, like if he gets like less than 20 fantasy points, you're pretty surprised. It feels like he'll get you in that sweet spot of like 20 to 28. And at like 5'1", I'm fine with it. He can get a little bit more than that for sure. The ceiling is there, but if you want like this, like really safe guys, like a last filler, certainly like him as an option. I think he's in play. It just depends who's in and out, right? Devontae Graham obviously would be a good option. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the usage he's getting off the bench. The other day he played 34 minutes off the bench. Then the day after that, he didn't play as many minutes. It was very frustrating, but he certainly can get a pile of minutes. It just depends on how he is rolling. I do want to talk about the Cleveland side a bit because there is a value play that I definitely would like to play if the news hits right. And if you get no Darius Garland, we talk about this.
Rondo.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Rondo day, right? Like, I mean, and he is one of those guys we know in the DFS industry. Like, when he produces, man. Like, he can be an elite fantasy producer with the ball in his hands. And I'm just going to name the guys that he's going to be playing with possibly tonight. He'll be playing with Isaac Okoro, a guy who doesn't handle usage. Dean Wade, who I know we made fun of the last time, but he doesn't handle a ton of usage. He'll get some rebounds and take a couple shots. Kevin Love, we know he commands a lot of usage, but he'll likely be off the bench where you'll keep them away from each other, which is good. Jared Allen, I mean, he's not out there just dribbling it up and down the court. He's not running the offense from the point center. Evan Mobley, I mean, there's just no one there. Cedi Osman, Lamar Stevens, Dylan Windler, like Rondo, if you get Garland out, is just, he's an elite play. And like, I don't know, you can make an argument he could be a better play than Drummond possibly in that situation. If not, it's going to be really close. It's going to be definitely up there. So those will be like two of the best values if the news hits that way. And it'll definitely be a nice throwback for like the guys that played DFS in like 2014, 2015, because it was fun rostering those guys back then. And we'll be rostering them tonight for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. If Rondo, if Garland's out, Rondo min price 3K. We have spend ups on this slate. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an 8-game slate. You can always find spend ups on a slate like this. So I'm with you. I mean, I expect Rondo to start. Hoop, you're over there laughing, you're smirking. Talk about whatever you're laughing and smirking with. Talk.
Even if Garland's out, man, you don't believe that he is a better value play or a comparable one to Drummond, do you?
Yeah, why not? He's the only ball handler. How could he not?
I get it, but yeah.
And it's not within 5 points of a projection, probably, which is close.
No.
I think
he'd be a great play. Don't get me wrong. Like, he'd be an amazing play, but
because there's still more unknowns with, I guess, Drummond, foul trouble, and obviously there's still more unknowns with like how many minutes Rondo and stuff would get, whereas we've seen Drummond in spots like this.
Correct. That would be the concern, is minutes, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Rondo homer for sure. Boston Celtics.
I mean, if
I definitely itch at the idea to play him, and he's treated me well so far this year. But I know the role is really elite when he's just going to be the only guy there. So
good play. Yeah, certainly good play. I mean, I guess the main thing is this game. It's all news based. Like, we need to see what's going to happen here. It's what, 7 Eastern game, right? Yeah, 7 Eastern game.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Hart, Ingram, Valanciunas, all questionable. If all those guys sit, then we get 5 or 6 more value plays, like you guys talked about. Willie Hernan-Gomez goes to a loaded, another center at loaded position. I mean, center's always loaded. Tonight would make it even more loaded. Alexander Walker, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones would all become good plays. Now, if all those guys are ruled in, I think this is a good spot just to avoid the Pelicans and move on. And then on the Cleveland side, we got to see what happens with Garland. If Garland's in, we're probably not playing any Cavs. If Garland's out, Rondo becomes a really good play. It's tough with other guys, though. I mean, we're not going to play a Coro, or at least I know me and Title aren't playing a Coro. Dean Wade, not going to play Dean Wade. Although last time, Mangone, you're on Dean Wade, I think he got the job done. I remember.
He was right.
Yeah. He got the 26.5, which, like, sure, that was great, but relative to the other values, like, it wasn't as great because those Utah values all crushed later on. But he got there, right? You can victory lap it any way you want, but he started last game. If he starts, and it depends on the position, right? Small forward and power forward. It does feel like those could be spots that you spend on a little bit, Hoop. If you spend down at those guards and centers, you've got to spend somewhere. So maybe those guys aren't as in play because of that, or maybe it's like, that's a different way to go with your construction, right?
Yeah. Kind of just hoping all these guys are in so I can cross this game off and move on. I mean, we already have a ton of really good plays on this slate. It would make things a little more complicated, I guess, in terms of roster construction, because Willie Hernan-Gomez just crushes when Valanciunas is out. And then if you add Ingram out and Hart out, I mean, it's a thin team. So bring, like I said, 5 or 6 more guys into that elite play category. And then, Garland's out, and then Rondo, but got to wait for the news on this one.
Yeah. Up to lock show is going to be very important today for sure, with how close the games are, what times they start, and then how much news we get. They'll cover it all. Mr. Patrick Rice, 2014, 2015 title, was still in high school. Yeah, it was Patrick Rice. What's it to you, buddy? junior year, you got it right as well, Del Rose. But hey, I was still watching Rondo, little Big Baby Davis, the boys in the green in Boston. So they were a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, I was still in high school. Let's get to the next game though. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button for us. We appreciate it. The other game that locks at 7 p.m. Eastern on the slate, Los Angeles Clippers, Indiana Pacers, 222.5 total. Indiana is favored by 2. On the injury report, Indiana side, Sabonis got ruled out for health and safety protocols, so that's big. Turner out, Brogdon out, Goga questionable, Brissett questionable. A lot of injury news on that squad. As far as the Clippers, Paul George still out, Zubac questionable, Batum questionable. Mangone, I'll go to you. This is where you were talking about Zubac a little bit, if he was out, Hartenstein, stuff like that. So talk about on the Clippers side, talk about Hartenstein. Then what are you doing on the Pacers side with Sabonis out, Turner out, Brogdon? There's some notable names out, so talk about this game.
Yeah. So the Hartenstein thing is tough because if you eliminate Zubac, you like look at that team and they don't have many big men. And one of them's like Serge Ibaka, and like how many minutes can he play? But also you are dealing with, and this is always worth mentioning, Ty Lue. Do you want to deal with Ty Lue? Do you want to deal with the possible dumb rotations or him just mixing and matching guys? Also could see like both sides of the ball. Just like if Goga's out, you could see like the Pacers and the Clippers just like shake hands and say, let's play a little bit smaller sometimes throughout the game, right? Like they're both okay with it. We're just absolute positionless basketball. So those are the ways it could not work out for a guy like Hartenstein. But if a Zubac sits, he's certainly going to pop at 3.3K and be someone that you should be considering on your lineups. And let's say it does get to more of those like small ballish lineups. Well, like a Reggie Jackson could certainly pop. Like a Karis LeVert, if you want to spend up for him at 7-9, I wouldn't hate it. The problem is I think Sabonis is back for this game. So with Sabonis back, he's an interesting spend up. I mean, he triple-doubled the other day. He got ruled out?
Sabonis, yeah.
Well, when did that happen then? Because it's not on my.
Probably like 2 hours Eastern, 1 Eastern, 3 Eastern.
I don't know. I must have not refreshed my page, but that's.
I'm more hurt that you weren't listening to what Title was saying.
I heard you say it. I thought you were both, to be honest. So I did hear you say it. And I was like, I thought he was out, but
yeah, it looks like health and safety. I'm pretty sure.
So here's the interesting dynamic with him being out, right? If he's out, well, he's out. But like if Goga's out, right? Now, who's playing big man for them? It's Isaiah Jackson, likely, right? And he's not center eligible. He's power forward eligible, which like that's kind of nice to be able to have that flexibility in that spot. Now you can spend up on some of these guards. Like I've at least been spending on guards lately, especially if Tyus Jones is out. I like the idea of playing a John Morant. So I think that Isaiah Jackson could be the guy, right? He's been pretty good. And Brissett also at 3.9K. He's someone that if he's in, he's an elite producer. I mean, Title, we've been playing him a lot. So it just depends on how the news hits with Goga then for these other guys that you can plug into those forward positions. And of course, LeVert at 7-9, he's been a good play. I've been playing him and I feel like he's ran a little bad, but a matchup against the Clippers, that's a game that I don't expect to blow out because both these teams are pretty terrible at basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a 2-point spread. The total's not too bad. There's injury news on both sides. The game probably goes a little under-owned too. Who knows there's a lot of good spots on this slate hoop. I think it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, if a couple of people are out on the Pacers side, that's questionable now. The Goga Brissett on the Clippers side. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Because I think there are some pieces you can go to, you maybe could go to with injury news. But let's just say we get no injury news. Are you just crossing it off? If we get some, you playing it? Talk to the people.
Yeah, but most likely, like LeVert, I think is fine. But I don't know what's been going on. I mean, he just has not been playing all that well. I'm assuming a couple blowouts in there because the minutes were down. Played 43 minutes.
He's gotten foul trouble too. I think there's been some noise with it, especially at 7-9. But
yeah, I mean, that should,
right? It's
should keep his ownership in check, the poor recent performances. But, man, I mean, it's a 223 total, 2-point spread. If it's a close game, I'd imagine he'd have a solid performance here. Probably not a building block guy, but, if I get LeVert in my lineups, kind of land on him, I'm fine. I'm not going to mess around with anything else. Even with Sabonis out, Goga kind of hard. Center's obviously loaded. We have Andre Drummond. So then you're talking about using a utility spot on a guy like Goga. Don't know if I'll probably do that. I've been avoiding the Clippers. Now, if these guys are ruled out, Hartenstein, I think would be a fine play if Zubac's out. But just has not been a very fantasy friendly team as of late. So I'll probably be avoiding the Clippers regardless of what happens with these questionable guys. LeVert, I want some exposure to, especially in tournaments. I really want exposure to LeVert, more so in tournaments, because I think the recent performance keeps his ownership in check. He's got big upside. 223 total, Pacers favored by 2. So yeah, him. Duarte is another guy, just hasn't been playing all that well, but he's probably going to have to play big minutes here. I mean, he hasn't cracked 20 fantasy points in 3 straight games. And I understand Sabonis has been back, so maybe he gets it going here. Just more tournament options. But, if Goga's out, if Brissett's out, if this team's really, really thin, we're going to have to come back and start looking at some of these really cheap guys.
Yeah, one more thing to call out with the Pacers that you mentioned. If those guys are out, I'm counting 9 bodies, and one of them's name is a Terry Taylor, and I don't know what a Terry Taylor is. So it could be a really thin situation where these Indiana values could be very, very valuable if the news hits correctly.
Yeah, we're waiting on a lot of news. Thankfully, we'll get it. In the first 3 games, we've had news in every single one. Going to get to these other games. We have news in a lot of them. So news will be popping up probably pretty shortly. We're going to start getting news and all the way to lock till the game starts. So up to lock show, like I said, definitely going to be very important today. Before we get in the next game, I saw this comment earlier, forgot to read it. Matthew Moore, hey guys, I appreciate all your advice. I was second in the main on Saturday. Let's keep up the grind. Congrats to you, Matthew Moore. That's awesome to hear. K Fleek Burner, Dez, Coach, William, Junior, Stephen Coy, Connor. Thanks for all hanging out with us. Craig, Answer, Uptown. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Always makes this show fun in chat. Let's get into the next game, though. This game locks at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Sacramento Kings, New York Knicks, 212 total. The Knicks are favored by 6.5. As far as the injury report, Bagley out, Terrence Davis out. De'Aaron Fox is questionable. So another big news on this slate. Tyrese Halliburton becomes even a better play. He finally started to flash his ceiling. Think he'd be very elite. As far as the Knicks side, we have no injury news on the Knicks side. Man, I was watching them for a little bit. I can't remember who they were playing, but Julius Randle just does not seem engaged. They got to ship him before the deadline because he just looks like he doesn't care out there. This Knicks team's a mess. I don't want to mess with any of them. They're healthy too. So I'd say you scrap them, in my opinion. As far as the Kings, yeah, Tyrese Halliburton and Fox is out, sure. Rashawn Holmes, 5K on DraftKings. His price is okay, but center is loaded. Couple options. I don't know, Hoop. I'll go to you. I feel like you're going to be on the same side as the Knicks side for me as a fade, but what do you see on the Sacramento side?
Yeah, Knicks. I mean, they're got all their guys like you talked about, and this is a injury riddled slate. And I'm not going to be focusing on teams that are first off underperforming this season as a whole. The Knicks have completely underwhelmed, disappointing season, and they have all their guys in. I'm just not going to do it. And then on the King side, it depends with Fox. Like if Fox is in, I'll probably be fading the Kings with the exception of Holmes. Like if you're playing, tournaments, like Rashawn Holmes at 5K, I think is a good play regardless. Met 2, maybe a little bit. But if Fox is in, no Halliburton. If Fox is out, I would definitely play Halliburton in tournaments. Just 2 really disastrous teams. And this is a slate where we have some really, really good plays. I just don't really want to take on the risk of playing Kings and Knicks. Got a little news. Korkmaz also out for the 76ers. So that just makes all those guys that we talked about in that game better plays. And then Garland, they're still labeling as a game time decision.
Yep, injury news starting to hit. Korkmaz, I mean, yeah, the Shake Milton, I believe, is out already.
He's out, yeah.
Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, yeah. I mean, you can't ignore. That's why, a game like this, especially the Knicks side. But if Fox is in, you don't need to really go to these teams that are healthy. There's enough injury news on a lot of these teams. So totally agree with you, man. Going 3 for 3, or is there something in this game that we see or that you see that we don't?
I don't want to go to Knicks. I would need Fox to be out to consider like Halliburton, and like Davion Mitchell's not like a terrible option at 4.9, but probably not guys that I'm going to be going to as much. Like if it's Davion Mitchell or like some of those Sixers, like a Curry, like I'd probably rather go there. But I mean, if you're on a meeting, I wouldn't mind mixing in a Davion Mitchell and a Halliburton if a Fox was out, but just guys I'm not prioritizing for sure. This is definitely more of a catch me up game right here.
Catch me up game for sure. Next game on the slate won't be a catch me up game. It's the Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, 209 total. Boston is favored by 6.5. Big injury news on Miami though. Butler, Lowry, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, Akpala, Yurtseven, all are out. I think they have 10 bodies is what I counted. They have 10 bodies, but like 2 of them are Chris Silver and Udonis Haslem. I feel like Udonis Haslem's been in the league for longer than I've been born. Chris Silva, who knows? Maybe they play a little bit, but pretty much 8 guys. I think you have to have interest on the Miami side for sure. I'll go to you, talk about Miami. And then do you have any interest on the other side?
Yeah, so for the Heat, 10 bodies, 8 of them are going to play? Only 7 guys get substantial run here. So it's a really good spot. I mean, you're going to want some Miami Heat guys. That's why it just makes it so tough. Like that last game with like the Kings and the Knicks, like can't play guys over these Miami Heat players. You can't play those dudes over the 76ers guys. And there's other games that coming up with good value and potentially more. Trae Young's listed as questionable. If Trae Young's out, we're going to be loading up on Hawks too. So you have to focus on these teams with the injury news. Tyler Hero, phenomenal play. Bam Adebayo, 7.5K, phenomenal play. Caleb Martin, 3.5K, phenomenal elite play. And then you kind of go into like the secondary guys a little bit. Gabe Vincent, already been playing well. Tons of minutes too. Tons of minutes recently. He's only 4.8K. Max Struss, 4.2K. The one that's interesting and it's crazy, which probably holds the most degree of risk, is Duncan Robinson at 4.6K. The guy can just disappear, as you saw last game where he played 20 minutes and racked up 0.75 fantasy points. That's what you get with Duncan Robinson.
If he's not stroking it, you're in trouble.
You're correct. Yeah. If he's not knocking down the threes like Title was against Big T, like he's going to put up a dud. And
no, I missed a lot too. I don't know.
You made the big ones.
Yeah. Thankfully, I had a lot of chances.
You're going against, the Big T was not putting up much of a fight at that point. It was a tough scene for Big T. But maybe in March, he's in peak Big T shape, and I hope he teaches you a lesson on the court. I want to see you two play too. You guys threw out a little 6-figure action. I want to see that going on too. Big T he's in just such bad shape. Like anyone that is in just decent condition would smoke him in basketball. It's a tough scene for Big T on the court. That is. But Duncan Robinson, big time risk. He's got to knock down those shots. I think he is probably the lowest owned out of these guys because everyone sees that. Like, okay, he just played 20 minutes and put up 0.75 fantasy points. So I think everyone else, all those guys I mentioned before him, get way more ownership. But this is a situation where they're still projected to score 101 points. These guys are going to play a ton of minutes. They're only 6.5 point underdogs. You need some Miami Heat guys in your lineups tonight. Hero, Adebayo, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent, I'd say, are probably the safe options. K. Falix boy, Max Struss, Duncan Robinson, a little more risk, but guys you need to consider. Then on the Celtics, we've kind of all had the same approach with the Celtics this season. When they're at full strength, not really playing them. They're at full strength. I won't be playing any Boston Celtics guys tonight.
I like it. Yeah, I don't have interest in Boston either, really. We're starting to get more news. Goga out, Brissett questionable, or game time decision still. Up to lock show, have you covered? Mangone, I'll go to you. If you have anything on that.
There's a quote too on Brissett. Not optimistic. So they're going to be super thin here tonight. Who do they play? Who's the dude? Who's our boy? Is it Terry Taylor season, boys?
Yeah, that dude. I don't even know. I know nothing about him, but it doesn't.
Isaiah Jackson.
Isaiah at least. But,
yeah, if he's 4-1, he's power forward and center. I don't know. Up to lock show. We're just getting this news. We're talking. It would be Isaiah.
Jackson is going to have to play as many minutes as he can handle. Just looking at this roster.
So why is he more expensive than Drummond? Well, what did he do to get higher price?
I'm guessing it was actually last game.
He's been playing well, right?
Yeah, but his last game he put up 28 fantasy points, 27. He had a 30 spot, so I'm guessing that's why.
4.1K, power forward and center eligible.
Yeah, he's gonna have to play a shit ton.
Yeah, Torrey Craig is probably gonna be starting at the 4. So yeah, more injury news. It's a really fun slate. Injury news is actually crazy. But Mangone, I'll go to you. Talk about this side. We're talking injury news. Miami, we can't ignore this team. I think we can't ignore Boston. Do you agree on that? And who are you targeting on Miami?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to like here in this spot. And I mean, another center, Bam Adebayo, right? Like he's going to be someone that, I mean, he could easily get 60 today. And I think he's someone that I definitely want to be considering for my lineups. I mean, I think you got to like him here in this spot. So I definitely like Bam Adebayo. He's definitely going to be a center that I mix and match throughout my lineups. The Heat overall, though, they are pretty shorthanded. I'm assuming, like, I know K Falcons maybe talking about maybe a Chris Silva, I think in the chat a little bit, K Falcons loves to get off.
No, I hope he was not talking.
I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe they were messing around. I might be spreading fake news, but I saw his name at least mentioned by someone. So
I really don't play. If you're out there, don't play Chris Silva.
They have all these like, I mean, it's just one of those situations where if you count the bodies, they have Bam Adebayo, Silva, and Dedmon. And it's like, okay, like they can't really play both those, like two of those guys on the court together that much. So it's like, they're just so thin where like Caleb Martin at 3.5 with that guard and forward eligibility. That's really nice for mixing without your lineups. Like Max Struss, Tyler Hero, they're all going to need usage, as crazy as that sounds. I doubt, I mean, this is not the slate to mess around with, like, let me try and make Kyle Guy happen. Like, don't do that. I definitely like Kyle Guy as a player. I think he's like a fun guy to play in April DFS, but this is not the right time to do it. This slate has such great value. It seems like opening up where I don't think he would be the guy to go to. Duncan Robinson is at 4.6K. If you need a shooting guard slot, you can make a case for him, but the downside is there because if he doesn't make threes, he can sink your lineups. And today, having guys that just anchor down your lineups can hurt you a ton. So definitely wanted to call that out. Didn't mention Gabe Vincent yet at 4.8. That's another guy that could soak up some usage here. So starting lineups is going to be important, especially if you get like that point Tyler Hero. I know he hasn't been the greatest this year, but this is one of those spots where you can definitely see him bounce back at that 6.2K. So I think he's definitely someone I'm looking at roster and possibly on my teams. And overall, you can't ignore the Heat situation. This is definitely a spot where you want to mix and match these guys throughout your lineups.
Yep, definitely can't ignore him. The highest price guy, Bam, 7.5. The next highest Hero, 6.2, and then a lot of cheap guys, and they don't have a lot of bodies. So definitely a good spot to target. As far as Kyle Guy, I'm with you. Loved him at Virginia. I think he's a hooper, but yeah, there's no need to go to Kyle Guy on a slate like this for sure. Let's get into the next game though. We got 3 games left, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Toronto Raptors, Atlanta Hawks, 215.5 total. Atlanta only is favored by half a point. On the injury report, Trae Young, questionable, as Hoop was saying. Very big news, obviously. As far as the Toronto side, they're healthy. Kem Birch is the only one out. Mangone, I'll go to you. Talk about the Trae Young news. If Trae Young's out, are you going to go to some of these Hawks? And as far as the Raptors, man, that picture that Run PR account tweeted, and I don't know if people saw, but all 5 starters played over 50 minutes a couple nights ago in that overtime game or something. Like, you just don't see that nowadays. So these Raptors are playing all the minutes they can. I feel like I see a quote every time in Discord. Nick Nurse says he wants to play 9 to 10 bodies. He can't keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. And they just keep running out their guys for as many minutes as they can handle. So you going to any of these Raptors with the minutes? Talk about the Trae Young news.
Yeah, and K Falcon, my apologies. I stopped myself, though. Give me a second to talk before you become a keyboard warrior, okay? Relax there, K Falcon, okay? Let's talk about this game because it's definitely, and I mean, definitely a game you want to consider. Like if Trae Young doesn't sit, I mean, if Trae Young sits, like there's just not a lot of spend ups. Like, let me just talk about this real quick. So here are the guys above 9K on this slate on DraftKings: Julius Randle, Darius Garland, who could sit, Pascal Siakam, who played 57 minutes the other night, so that is a concern. You got Trae Young, who's questionable. You have Ja Morant, who I like a lot, but like if Tyus comes back, that can mess stuff up. You got Jason Tatum, who's 10.6, which just feels like an egregious price tag, and he's playing Miami, who plays a little bit slower. And then you got Steph Curry at 11K. So like, man, like this, like spend up options on this slate are not great. I mean, yes, the matchup for Curry is great, but he's just not been a guy that's really paid off too much. And maybe today just grabbing his raw points will be okay. But
it could be a raw points day.
It definitely could be.
Like if Rondo, like if you get Rondo, you got the Drummond already. Like you're just naturally the 5X or whatever standard that you look at might not matter for these spend ups.
Yeah. So anyways, Trae Young, definitely someone that, is a good option, especially if he plays. If he ends up like, because I said, we don't have a lot of spend up guys. Trae Young at 10K is a really, really, really good option. So I think that Trae is someone that I'm going to consider if he ends up being ruled in. On the Raptor side, I am a little cautious with Pascal Siakam. It is nice that he's power forward eligible, but I do think that Pascal Siakam is someone at 9.6 that I might be a little bit more cautious about because of those minutes. I just think they took on so many minutes the last game where like maybe Nick Nurse does space it out a little bit, or maybe like they just fall flat and you don't get that fourth quarter rotation, which certainly could happen.
Yeah, Kate Ballack, I don't know how you're listening to man going on 1.75x. That is, if you know what he's saying, I'm definitely impressed. Hoop, I'll go to you. We're starting to get even more injury news. Bielitsa ruled out. To be honest, I have no clue what his status was even before this. It's not too big of news, but news is still popping up. Go to you though, Hoop. Talk about the Trae Young news and anything on the other side.
Yeah, if he's in, I mean, he's a play just because we don't have spends. So there you go, man. You can fade Drummond now. Zubac ruled out.
Drummond out of man going player pool.
It's not as crazy as you think when you have all these good value plays. And Hoop, if I told you on this slate, if I told you Bam let's say Drummond puts up 40, okay? 40 is really
I'll
good.
take it every time, 100%.
No, sure, but listen, hear me out. Nurkic and Bam, if they both get 55 at center, they could be better options with the values that you have at other positions. That certainly could happen, especially if you tell me like 90, if you told me 90% of the field was on Drummond. Now they might not be that high, but like it definitely is possible. But likely what's going to happen is with all these values opening up, Drummond, at least in the lower stake stuff, will become lower and lower owned. But it's just worth calling out because you can't play Drummond, Nurkic, and Bam on a team, and Bam gets Oklahoma City, or not Bam, Nurkic gets Oklahoma City, and Bam gets an elite spot where you can absolutely crush. Like, so I don't think it's as crazy as you think if you play a Nurkic combo with a Bam Adebayo and then you pair it with other values. I just don't think it's as crazy as it might sound.
You're ignoring the best play, the one that you were going to fade because of it, Hartenstein.
Baby.
Too. I mean,
Hartenstein season.
I don't want to mess with Ty Lue's minutes as much. That's the other thing that might be a concern. So I'm curious to see.
Brandon Ingram ruled out.
Just to he's out. Yeah,
it's going to be harder game time.
It's going to be a wild west out here tonight.
I keep saying it. If you're not watching, I don't know what you're doing, but we're going to keep showing.
Isaiah Jackson is like a really good play. He's going to have to play like so many minutes and like he's productive when he's out there.
They just don't have another
chat
big.
Someone said if Drummond puts up 40, there's not a route where he can't be on the winner. Like there are routes for that.
There's always routes. If
Jokic put up 93 and he wasn't on one of the winning teams in a contest. Now, of course, he was on some of them, but like 93 is an insane number. Like if I told you someone put up 93 title, you would say they're on the winner every time.
That's a little different just because like you have to take into account ownership that like the teams have to still be good. Like 93 would be optimal every single slate you play NBA DFS. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm wondering what the actual optimal was.
It was Jokic. He was in there though. If you have 93, you're in the optimal.
Yeah, I think it was because there was all these cheap guys that went like, I think like to, where'd they go to? They were at like 40, but it's all just like math and trying to figure out like what the best route is going to be. It is interesting. We have a lot of value and like maybe that lowers Drummond's ownership, which like if that might be great for you. You know, that might
Serge Ibaka, Terrence Mann will start, Batum will play off the bench.
Oh, that's great.
So that's Hartenstein not starting at the fight. Yeah. So
Surge season.
Exactly. I mean, the injury
Surge is what you call a bad value. I feel like I don't know. They
just don't play him for some like he won't play like more than like 18 minutes for some reason.
You just don't want guys that can anchor down your lineups and like today and like because there's such good values and I think he could be one of those guys where sure he could be fine, but like you're just not going to get enough minutes where you're going to be concerned about getting that ceiling. I think.
Yeah.
It's just back to this game though. It's like a wild slate where let's say Trae Young's ruled out, like we still might not have interest in many Hawks players, which is crazy to say. I mean, it's nuts to say, all right, it's in what we got 8 games tonight.
Yeah.
If Trae Young's ruled out, there's still for me not much interest in the Hawks side of things. They have bodies. If he's in, I have a lot of interest in him. We're looking at a 216 total. Basically a pick him. So he becomes a really good play. And I kind of hope he's in so I can play him. And we have some options because if he's ruled out, you're going to look at, Ja Morant and Steph Curry with like massive ownership probably on the slate because they're going to be the only two studs remaining to pay up for. So I hope Trae Young's in, so we have more options on, spends tonight. But if he's out, probably don't have a ton of interest in these Hawks guys. And then the Raptors, I mean, relatively tough because of these other situations. But, if you land on if Trae Young's out, a guy like Siakam is probably a guy we're going to have to consider a little bit more because he's going to be one of the last spends. Fred VanVleet at 8-7, would probably be an okay play. One thing you're getting with these Raptors guys is a ton of minutes. Like you said, the tweet that we sent out was like 50 minutes for all these guys.
That's crazy.
They'll just play them all. So, with all this news breaking, it's hard to really see how roster construction is going to go.
Isaiah Jackson starting, so that's a
really strong play, really, really strong play. But this game's not great, but it might have to come here for some guys more on the spend side opposed to the value side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when we get news for all this stuff too, because we realistically could get news on pretty much everyone before the first lock time since the games are so close. But if somehow Trae Young was ruled out right at lock or right after lock, you're going to be locked in at some of these Philly guys and some of these other 7 p.m. Eastern games where who knows if you're even able to adjust with the news if it comes out after. So really interesting slate, really fun slate for sure. That game, not as much interest in it though. And then, your boy Trey Murphy, man, looks like he's available to play today. So little Trey Murphy action for you, but no, if you're listening to this, don't play Trey Murphy.
I don't even know. Isn't that the Pelicans guy? That wasn't the Mr. Taylor we talked about.
That wasn't. I was thinking about someone that wasn't even the same guy we were talking about. Well, don't play
Terry Taylor.
Yeah, I was thinking of Terry Taylor. But I had no clue if Mangone didn't say anything.
Scary Terry season. Let's go.
I saw he had like a 3 projections. So I was like, he's on the list of projected guys. So.
Yeah, I was going to say don't play that guy for sure, but completely different guy. Don't play either of them. Tyus Jones is in though, Mangone. So Ja will not be a spend for Mangone. It sounds like Isaiah Jackson though, starting at center though, definitely a good play. 2 games left. What do we got for the likes? 207, 535 watching. Hit the like. I'm not going to set a number. 250 should be easily. I'm not going to hide the plays of the day for you. It's a Monday after the football games, 8-game slate, big prize pools. Do a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We appreciate it.
I just did a quick search. If there is a backup center, like the backup center tonight is, if there's no Brissett, it is Mr. Terry Taylor. Rick Carlisle gave him some praise, so he'll be the backup apparently. That's what it says.
I feel like Beanair said in chat that guy was like 6'5", but I mean Royce O'Neal's like 6'5", 6'6", and he played the small ball 5 for a little while, so. You don't have options. You really don't, but I still wouldn't play that guy.
6'5". That is the quote I see right here. Later says 6'5" Terry Taylor is next up as the backup center behind Isaiah Jackson. Pretty fun.
Yeah, that's tough scenes for sure. But we're going to get in the next game. Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets, 230 total. I believe that's the biggest on this card. Yeah, it's biggest on the slate, 230 total. Golden State's favored by 11. Go to the injury report on Golden State. Draymond out, Otto Porter out, Iguodala out. Bielitsa was questionable, so now he is out as well. As far as the Rockets side, Kevin Porter Jr. is questionable. Hoop, I'll go to you. We talked about Steph maybe as a raw point spend, maybe a Christian Wood as a raw point spend. These other guys like Looney, Kuminga, just don't think you really need it with all this injury news we're getting. Maybe an Andrew Wiggins. I mean, man, ever since he got announced as a starter for the All-Star, this guy's playing like a starter for the All-Star. He's got something to prove. So little Andrew Wiggins, maybe. I don't know. Talk about it, Hoop.
Really, so Bielitsa ruled out Kuminga, a little bit of a boost. I mean, Kuminga was a way better play before we stepped on the show here.
I was gonna say, rank him now because he was someone interesting.
Yeah, I'd say before we started the show, he's a fine option. Now, I just don't think that he's a guy that we can consider. With the Pacers situation, Korkmaz ruled out as well. Brandon Ingram ruled out. Just
Miami
talking
situation.
Talking through the Miami situation. I can't play him over any of those guys. So probably won't be on Kuminga, which is fine. I mean, it's a low floor play. Steph Curry's definitely in play, and his ownership is every bit of news we get here in terms of guys being ruled out. Steph Curry's ownership goes up. He's the highest priced viable guy left on the slate. Good spot against the Rockets. But, I think Mangone touched on it earlier. Is like he hasn't been all that good in terms of fantasy since Clay has been back. So he's a fine option. His ownership is probably going to be high. And like I said, it'll continue to rise with each bit of news that we get. I think Clay is somewhat interesting. There's going to be a game very soon where, he plays 30 minutes, 32 minutes and goes off and starts, knocking down a ton of threes. I'd have him in my pool if you're doing the full 150 today. I'd include Klay Thompson in my player pool. This is a really good spot against the Rockets. Wiggins, somewhat interesting. I think, again, I'd keep him in my player pool just because of what he's been doing. Everyone's saying he doesn't belong as a starter, which he doesn't. But it kind of seems like he's trying to prove everyone wrong. So 6.6, he's fine. I'm not going to mess with the Rockets though today. I just don't really see the need to do it. I can find plays that I like way more at every price point, including guys like Christian Wood. So no Rockets for me. Steph, Clay, Wiggins, fine options.
I like it. Dez, Maxey or Gary Trent? Yes, I definitely like Maxey in that situation. Just they're a lot shorter. So Maxey over Trent. People are talking Kuminga, man, going, it's an interesting talk. Kuminga is definitely a solid play. If this was a 4-game slate or this was an 8-game slate 3 years ago where we don't have injury news really, Kuminga would be one of the best plays on the slate, but we have so many good spots. How does Kuminga now rank for you? Talk about Steph, anything in this game.
Yeah, maybe I might be playing Terry Taylor over Kuminga. I mean, I'm just not playing Kuminga. There's no chance.
Get out of here with that.
No chance you're catching Kuminga in my life.
All right, you take Taylor. I'll take Kuminga. I'll even spot you 10. I'll be nice and spot you 10.
You'd spot me 10 on that? That's not terrible. Is he forward eligible at least?
I actually, I might have to go with Mangone on this.
You're going to give me a 3K. Is he forward eligible too?
I'll spot you 10 points. I'll just
Terry Taylor's going to have to play tonight.
So you would give me 10 points, you'll give me a 3.1K power forward, and you get a 4K power forward, and I know he's the backup center. I think
I'll give you 10 points. I can't take the bet bag now. If you want a 100 on that, 10, here you go.
I definitely am down. The one thing I'll say is I don't know if the news might be too crazy where I don't know if I want to be managing a Terry Taylor lineup.
You don't have to manage anything. Listen, just straight up the points.
Just straight up. Oh yeah, man, I'll book it. That
yeah. That's
now we're playing the head-to-head and all this stuff.
I was thinking head-to-head. Yeah.
Oh no, Mangone's like a mess. I mean, Terry Taylor.
Did I get it in bad? I don't know.
Well, Terry Taylor's he's actually been playing. I didn't realize that. Like he played 10 minutes, 7 minutes, and 12 minutes. He's going to play like 25 minutes tonight. I think he got it in real bad.
I'm in title.
All right, $100. I'm spotting you 10. Kuminga versus Terry Taylor.
There we go. It should be fun. We'll have to see how it works out. I'll be more
DC
into the Pacers game than I realize now.
DC and all them can't say I never get anything bad anymore. I gave Holden a good bet too and plus some money. So you guys can't say I don't get in bad anymore. But go ahead, man. Going.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I see Kuminga season in the chat. It's good times over here, but I don't think I'm in on this game too much. Like Curry could be an interesting raw point spin, but I just think it's a bad allocation of the salary. Like if you really just like every punt in the world and like the value is just so incredible, I wouldn't hate it because the matchup against the Rockets is so good. But other than that, I don't really want to mess with this game. I think that's the only guy I'm really considering here. Maybe if like at small forward you fell on an Andrew Wiggins, I wouldn't hate it. I don't think like you'll fall on a Klay Thompson at shooting guard just because shooting guard seems like the guard position just seems pretty good right now. So that's kind of my overall thought process. Just Steph Curry or bust if you need the raw points, and that's really
it. Big T says, tune into the show and see Title trying to get Mangone bucks. Love to see it. Well, Big T, I might have been donating some Title bucks to Mangone. It sounds like. Looks like I paid Mangone to come on this show today, but I don't know. I haven't looked at anything. Kuminga season is right, Des. It's Kuminga season tonight for sure. But last game on the slate, Portland Trailblazers, Oklahoma City Thunder, 215 total. Portland is favored by 4. On the injury report, Damian Lillard out. He's going to be out extended period of time. Larry Nance out. Nasir Little is going to be out for the year, I think I saw earlier. He's out. Cody Zeller out. CJ Ellaby out. So a lot of news on the Portland side. We go over to the OKC side. SGA is out indefinitely. Very big for their team. This is the first game without him. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, he's in the G League now, so he doesn't really matter too much. Giddey, Lou Dort, I think those are two very good plays. on the OKC side. We're talking about the lack of spend ups, really. Giddey's not a spend up, but you have to spend some salary on him. I think he's interesting on both sides. Hoop, I'll go to you. Talk about Portland, talk about OKC.
Yeah. Before I do that, great comment in the chat from Craig Toe. He goes, "You think it's hard to find a Renfro jersey? Just wait until Terry Taylor ships for you."
Yeah, you definitely aren't finding nothing like that.
Yeah, if Terry Taylor gets us to the promised land tonight, we're gonna have to like hand make the jersey. We're gonna have to just buy a Pacers no name jersey and get someone to stitch on Taylor, whatever number he is. But I didn't realize the crazy part is he's actually been getting minutes. They have no bigs. Like, he's going to play tonight, which is wild.
Yeah, I had no clue that he was actually getting minutes.
Do you want to know something crazy about Terry Taylor? Titletown, you got more followers than him. You're beating him by 200. So we all got more followers than
there's some. You see some UFC guys like that makes their debut that have like no followers, and like there's a lot of like people like that you really don't. But I guess so. I saw the tweet earlier. Robinson Earl recalled from the G League. It looks like, not that it means a lot. Someone in chat corrected me though. I saw some tweet about it. It doesn't matter.
The big situation with the Thunder seems pretty dicey. So, I mean, yeah. So for me personally, Giddey, I think, is a strong play. Lou Dort, a strong play. Then Trey Mann, I think you can consider. I mean, obviously, the more guy, like I talked about last game, the more guys that get ruled out, the less appealing a guy like Trey Mann is. But he's shown some upside in the past, and he's dirt cheap on both sides. Played 27 minutes last game. He's gonna play a lot of minutes. So Trey Mann, I think, is still a guy to have in your player pool. But it would be Dort, Mann, Giddey. I'm not messing with like the big situation for the Thunder. And then on Portland, the two guys I'm looking at, Anthony Simons and CJ McCollum. This game, only a 4-point spread, should be close, competitive game. McCollum's now basically back to full minutes, 30. Oh, he's been for 36, 37, 38, 35, 36, 36. If this is a close game, which Vegas thinks it will be, I think McCollum's a fine option at 7.6. Anthony Simons at 7K, fine option. But that's it for me here on the Portland side. I mean, maybe Robert Covington, more so on FanDuel. He's a little bit cheaper. His game fits FanDuel better with the steals and blocks, but not overly excited. I like all the guards here. Simons, McCollum, Giddey, Mann, and Dort.
I'm on the same page as you for sure. Injury news just keeps coming. It's going to be like that. I mean, not questionable tags, but phone's going to be buzzing. Man, go to you. It's an interesting game. Rank your favorite pieces on both sides.
Yeah, we got Schroeder's probable to be a game time decision, whatever that means. I mean, Trae Young's a game time decision too, though, which is definitely something that will matter. I do want to talk about some of these Blazers. I don't care as much about like the Trey Manns of the world. I care more about a Giddey and a Dort. Like Trey Mann, like I get it, but like there's just so many good values that we could have on this slate where like, I don't know, Trey Mann just might not be in the cards today. Even if he like got you like at 3.5, even if he got you like 20-ish fantasy points, that just maybe wouldn't be enough based on some of the values. Like maybe like Tyrese Maxey or like Curry, like they might go for 40 plus and just be way more worth it. So we just have so many values on this slate. I think that Nurkic is a really, really strong play at the center position. We kind of have some lack of spends ups. And of course, if you do play a cheap, center, then you got utility. Maybe you spend up on one of your other centers. Maybe it's a Bam Adebayo. Maybe it's a Nurkic. And those guys easily could have some big gains. And I worry about some of these spend ups today where I think those two guys are really strong center options. So Nurkic gets OKC. He'll absolutely dominate them. The question always is, what's the foul trouble like? Maybe someone else soaks up usage like an Anthony Simons at 7K. Like on a typical slate, if we were lacking value, people would be playing Anthony Simons at 7K because he's pretty safe right now. I mean, if you look at the game logs, like he gets you at least 30 plus. He's got a ceiling if the shots are falling. The matchup is OKC. It's a good one for sure. So definitely don't want to ignore him. Norman Powell is always someone that's in play with that small forward eligibility at 6.4K. It just depends if the shots are falling with him. He's a little too shot dependent, I think, for me on this slate. And then CJ McCollum is 7.6. And I think he's solid. If a De'Aaron Fox is out, I'd rather try to find myself to like a Tyrese Halliburton instead for maybe like 600, 700 more. But like as a last guy in, I wouldn't hate a CJ McCollum in this matchup.
Couple things before we get to the last one. I'm going to come back to you, Mango. People are asking Ty Jerome, Kendrick Williams. How do you rank this value now on this side or that side compared to the rest of the slate? Hoop too, if you want to answer that too. Yeah. And then Marcus Morris. So Hoop, I'll go to you. Talk about Kendrick, Jerome, And then Marcus Morris is the last piece.
Just a bucket of guys that you can just throw in the same category, where as of this morning, those guys were the best values of the day and guys that we were probably going to play. Every bit of news that we get makes those guys less valuable. Jimmy Butler ruled out, makes all those Thunder guys less valuable. Sabonis ruled out, makes all those Thunder guys less valuable. We get, we get Embiid ruled out, makes all those guys less valuable. This morning, you wake up, start looking at things. Yeah, those guys are the value plays of this slate. Now, not so much. Now, I don't think they're out of play, especially if you're building like 150 teams. Like I definitely want some Trey Mann. He'd be my favorite. Can't remember who else was in that group, but it would definitely be Trey Mann as my favorite option, assuming he starts. If it's Ty Jerome that starts, then Ty Jerome would be my favorite. I want the guy that starts in that scenario. If you're playing the full 150, yes, keep these guys in. If you're only making a few lineups, they're probably not in play. Like these other value plays are way better now.
Good answer for sure. Yeah, that was all 8 games. Injury news still going to be going. Coach said up to lock show, very important today. Like I kept saying, definitely very important. It's about time for the plays of the day, though. 565 watching, 243 likes. I didn't ask that much today. I didn't set a number. So you guys doing pretty good with all that accounted for. Let's make a push to 300, though. About to get to the plays of the day. Get out here for the Up to Lock show. But surprise me. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. If I look back and it's close to 300, I'll definitely be impressed and happy. But time for the plays of the day. Going to go to myself first because while I was struggling on who to find, I finally found someone, and I don't want to take it. And it very well could be. So SO play of the day. I'm going in the last game we just talked about. Anthony Simons as 7K as the play of the day. The guy's just really been hooping for sure. The minutes are there. He can fill it up in multiple categories. I think there's a lot of upside with Anthony Simons at 7K, and you're going to have all the money in the world to spend. So don't think he'll be too popular. Anthony Simons, SO play of the day. Sweet Travis, going over to you. The Sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask a question first. I'm not giving it. I want to make sure I'm not breaking rules so no one can get on me in the chat. The question's being asked. Can I give Rondo out? Is that allowed, or is that like, will he become too chalky? I got pushback earlier that he's not as great of a value. So
you're not going to get a pushback from me over here.
No, it's a contingency play, It's
if Garland's out, you got to have a backup, man.
Oh, I'll be backup, so I'll give 2. This is a spend up, so it's a little bit different. So if you want to go down, you go down. If you want to go up, you go up. That's that.
And talk about, would you play Rondo if Garland's in? So
no, I won't. I won't play Rondo if Garland's in. I don't think that's worth it, especially if there's so much good value right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Not be worth taking that risk. So if Garland's out, though, I'll be very invested in Rondo, probably on most of my teams. But I do think his ownership might get held down by those Sixers. A lot of people like those Sixers guards today, for sure. And those Heat ones, too. I mean, it's a loaded slate. But I like Karis LeVert as another spend up. I know I gave him out last week, but, man, if there isn't a spot, like when Scary Terry's getting run on the court, right? Like Karis has to get right. I know people are talking about trade rumors in the chat, and maybe he's not right, but dude is going to at least chuck. Clippers is a great matchup to get it done. So those are 2 guys I'm definitely going to have exposure to as long as the situations fall right. I mean, LeVert, it seems like the situation is already great. And Rondo, if Garland's out, I'll be very, very invested in him.
I like it for sure. Hoop, going to go over to you. Rich Parents play of the day. Cap it off for us.
I'm gonna go to Miami. Not Hero, not Bam, but I'm gonna go to Gabe Vincent, playing a ton of minutes already. And obviously without Jimmy Butler, the usage should be much, much higher. I'd like him a lot more if Tyler Hero comes off the bench, which I think he still does tonight. If Tyler Hero starts, I don't like Gabe as much, but if Hero's off the bench, Gabe Vincent should be running the show with that starting unit. So give me Gabe Vincent as the Rich Parents play of the day.
I like it. Gabe Vincent, Anthony Simons, Karis LeVert, maybe a little Rondo. So much can still change on this slate. 8 games, 7 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all the games are over. So you can enjoy a little movie with your wife or with the kids or something. Have a nice night planned. But that's going to do it for us. If you're not a member, don't know what you're doing, the Up to Lock show today, make sure you get in Discord. We'll be in there until the last game locks as always. But appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you guys have a great night. Hit the like on the way out, but that's going to do it for Hoop, Man Going, Simon Behind the Sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.